Now, let me welcome you to the conversation segment of the Signature Show. This program is being recorded on October 1, Thursday. So it is our special Independence edition of the program. Now, after the president's broadcast at 7 o'clock on this Thursday morning, we had to change the entire concept of our program for this Sunday. And because the president raised many fundamental issues that affect the very nature of the Nigerian federalism and Nigerian nation, we decided also to look for a Nigerian who is in a position to converse on the issues raised by the president. So we raced to the residence of the Senate Minority Leader, distinguished Senator Enyinnaya Abaribe. Senator, you're welcome to the conversation.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
The president broadcast this morning, this Thursday morning, began from the expectations of the founding fathers of this country. Incidentally, I have a copy of the president's speech. Let me make a reference to what the president said motivated the hope and optimism of Nigerians at independence, as captured by Prime Minister, our only Prime Minister, Alhaji Tafawa Balewa. The president said, and if you don't mind, let me quote him. He said, "This optimism was anchored on the peaceful planning, full and open consultation, and harmonious cooperation with different groups, which culminated into Nigeria emerging as a country." Let me pick his words again. Peaceful planning, full and open consultation, and harmonious cooperation. Full and open consultation. Are we fully and openly consulting today?
Well, thank you. First of all, let me say to Nigerians, happy survival, that you have survived 60 years of difficulties. It's something to also thank God about. I read an article this morning, and that article, I think by in this day, where Adeniyi was doing a comparison of all the people who got independence at the same time with Nigeria in 1960. And it was dismal. Every part of Africa that got independent at the same time with us. All of us are down on the scale of Human Development Index. And the only other non-African country that got independence with us, which is Cyprus. Look at just the comparison. A per capita income of more than $30,000 compared to Nigeria's per capita income of $2,000. So you could just see the gross differential between us. So 60 years. I will also say one other thing before I delve into your to answer your question, and that is that 60 years and we did a logo only to find that after the fact that those who designed the logo actually plagiarized it from somewhere else. So even for us to do our own event and design an event for ourselves, we had to go and steal from somebody else. So what other metaphor will you use for Nigeria at 60? If those who designed the logo under this government went to go and steal part of the logo, I mean, it just tells you hopelessness. That's just what it gets. And to answer your question about
full and open consultation.
Open consultation. I don't know whether we can say that this government has been consulting with anybody. Almost every part of this country is in distress. And different groups within this country are all seeking and asking for, let us sit down and look at this union all over again to be sure that the fundamentals for having a union of this nature actually are there. And every effort has been rebuffed. Even the party, APC, that made it as a cardinal point in their campaigns in coming into office, to come into office in 2014 and 15, in all the campaigns they did, they continue saying, oh, we're going to look at the whole things again, we're going to restructure the country, we're going to do all that. And when they were pushed to the wall, they now set up a committee under Governor Rufai. Rufai. Yes. And then there's a report, nobody has seen it again. Everything has been pushed under the carpet. So, full and open consultation is not here. It's simply a mere play on words to assuage those who still have a belief that this government can be able to do anything. I do not believe that this government means well. I do not believe that this government means to consult anybody. Maybe they will do some consultation among themselves. That is those who are the...
Yeah, but the president also said on Thursday morning, the broadcast, let me again read him so that I do not get it wrong. The president said, an underlying cause of most of the problems we have faced as a nation is our consistent harping on artificially contrived fault lines. That indeed, there shouldn't be fault lines, there are no fault lines, but we create the fault lines ourselves. In other words, the disparate positions being taken, the disparate arguments being made by sections of this country are self-inflicted. He says, artificially contrived fault lines.
Let me put it this way. I'm very glad that the president himself has said this, because what it means is that the president is indicting himself. If he says that they were artificially contrived, then he is the chief culprit of artificially contriving everything that has led us to where we are today. Because we can quote the president himself. When he wasn't president, when he was, we can quote him. When he said, oh, don't vote for anybody who is not a Muslim, you have to vote for people who are your own people. That's an artificial thing that he imposed himself. He quoted when there was the fight against Boko Haram that, oh, the killing of any person from there is also the killing of people from the north. He said it himself. So we can quote him verbatim on all the things that he now turns around to say are done by others. So I would say that we have heard so many speeches by presidents, people, leaders. What we do is that we'll watch your action. And it is your action that will make us believe whether you are sincere or not. Obviously, it's mere words on paper. There's no sincerity behind the words that are being said today.
Let me be kind to the president. I do not know whether you will share in this my kindness. There are a number of Nigerians who say, Muhammadu Buhari is a very good man. He understands the country and he knows and means well for this country. except that some people somewhere are creating distractions and creating challenges for him. Do you share
I do not
this
share
assessment?
What I think happens, and I'm saying this with all sense of responsibility, is that there is an overweening attitude of trying to shield Muhammad Buhari away from his own faults. And so when the buck stops at his table. So anything that happens is him. And then somebody says, no, it's not him. Oh, no, he means well. Oh, no, he does this. Maybe it's all the other people. Why are you president then? I had asked this question on the floor of the Senate when I said, you blame all manners of people, yet you don't blame the person on whom the
Buck stops
on his table. Yet every other president was blamed. So why is it that every other president, and even he himself, continue blaming other presidents? But when it comes to himself, oh, it's now other people, it's not him. So, well, for those who want to be rosy-eyed and, listen to all those kind of platitudes, they can do so. When we hired him to do this job, we hired him, I use my words very carefully, we hired him to do a job for us. Keep this country one, develop us, help us to be able to forge ahead as a nation. And then you come in and you end up destroying the country's base, and the country is vociferous to the extent that even the vice president himself admitted that there are so many fault lines that may lead to the breakup of the country if we're not careful. And then you still turn around and say it's not his fault. Whose fault is it then? Is it myself? I'm not president. Is it the Senate? We are not the president. There's one symbol of the country. If that one symbol is unable to do the job, then he must also take the blame for whatever problems and faults that we have.
I want us to take the president's words and operationalize them. The president has said that there should be full and open consultation with interest groups. The Fulani National Union said in this country that their foot soldiers were all over the country and waiting for others to strike. That was a clear indication that they had something about this country that they don't like, and they want to put right their own way. The Ohanese and IPOB are saying we need self-determination. This Thursday that we're holding this conversation, in the date, interest groups in the Yoruba nation said that we are going to declare Oduduwa Republic. Are these not signs enough to warrant a full and open consultation? A hurried one, if not.
Even before this time, there had been these things that had led to consultations. And even in 2014, I think, there was a summit and a conference on the state of this nation. And of course, everything coming from there and the papers coming out of and the resolutions and everything were just jettisoned and no effort made. All that has happened is that the fissures have deepened. Let's just take our minds back. Why is it that it is under this president that we are having this very, very serious pull on the things that are holding us together? Why? We also had somebody from Katsina, Yaradua. We didn't have it. On the contrary, we actually saw him solving the problem of the Niger Delta, which was also at that point trying to say, let us leave this country. So there must be something wrong. And that thing we have identified, that this president has made Nigeria to become a less united nation. Less. And I insist that he is the person. If under his watch, all arms of government are for a section of the country, if under his watch, some people are not supposed to be in certain positions, that notwithstanding how qualified they are, or even if they were. And I just give you one simple example. On Tuesday, there was a letter that came from him nominating somebody for PENCOM. The woman that was in PENCOM before, Chinelo Anohu, something, who is now at the African Development Bank, had built that pension institution up 2 years into her tenure. When this government came into office, they just brutally terminated her. Why? Of a 5-year tenure, had done absolutely nothing, nothing was wrong, just because he felt that somebody from the north ought to be there. That's all. And, you know, these things happen all over the place. And you think that the rest of Nigerians will simply just sit down and just swallow it. There must be resentment. So this president causes the outflow of resentment against the government at the center. Of course, I don't blame those who work with him, because when they work with him, they have to try to preserve him. They have to paint him in a good light. And so they can say, no, he's good, he's that. I don't see it. Because it is the way you treat me that tells me how much regard you have for me. And so if at every point in your eyes, nobody's good enough except somebody that comes from part of where you come. And of course, when it now looks as if it is too much, you dash a few crumbs to a few people, and then you say, oh no, but am I not? And then we just see that if we're not very careful, the seeds for the destruction of this country has already been laid.
Distinguished Senator, let me join the president, because I'm dwelling totally on his speech on this Thursday. He has identified Nigeria's challenges, and he listed them from A to G. And the president said on Thursday morning, he said, Nigeria is facing some dire challenges, and there's a need together to find ways of resolving the identified challenges. And he has identified areas. He said, 1, evolving and sustaining a democratic culture that leaves power in the hands of the people. Under the present administration, under the Buhari government that made this speech on the 1st of October 2020, has there been any any productive effort to entrench that culture, that democratic culture, which the president says is necessary for us to resolve some of our challenges?
Well, we'll ask ourselves, what is a democratic culture? It's the rule of law being obeyed.
But he said the particular one is living the power of determining who gets what in the political process in the hands of the people.
Yes, we're still looking at the fact that an electoral act was cobbled together by both his own executive under the Attorney General, the Senate, and just before the last elections. And he said he won't sign it. Found some very flimsy reason not to sign it, so that you can't evolve a democratic culture. And so we're still back in the, it's not an improvement on the previous elections, which everybody had condemned. And so, how would you now claim that, let me evolve? Well, let us be watching. He still has 3 years to go. So, let us see how and whether he will sign the next process, because all that we now said is, okay, why don't we bring back that particular law, amend it to suit today's and our own expectations, and take it back to him and see.
Yeah, but the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, just about 2 weeks ago, begged that the Electoral Act should be signed, but also incorporated into it should be e-voting. Why do we seem to be reluctant to allow the ordinary Nigerian to simply determine whom he wants by admitting of e-voting?
Well, I don't think I should answer that question. I think the question should be answered by President Buhari himself. Why are you so scared of making sure that votes count? I'm all for it. I'm all for making sure that people will vote into power only those that would protect their interests, do what they have voted them into office to do, and not some people just coming from somewhere and imposing people on the populace. So I'm all for it. I will challenge the president, now that he has put it down as part of his 60th anniversary speech, to walk the talk.
Now, the next thing the president said was that we must support the enthronement of the rule of law and demanding accountability of elected representatives and contributing to good governance. I'm a journalist, so that I'm told my opinion does not count. But are we really seeing a tolerance for the demand for accountability?
I believe that this government finds it difficult when you challenge them on accountability. They see it as an attack on the government and react by arresting people, making sure that people, what is the reason for all the journalists that are being picked up and all the people that are being pushed not to say anything? It is when people ask for accountability and you don't have anything to say, then the next thing is to resort to a bit of high-handedness. And from those of us in the National Assembly, from the 8th Senate to this time, we encountered it frontally. You recall that there was an invasion of the National Assembly by the DSS, masked. There was a DG then. He was merely shoved out of the office. He wasn't charged to court. None of the DSS staff that came there had to pay the penalty. Nobody was, and then everything was swept under the carpet. So when the government comes around and talks about accountability, you just want to shake your head and just want to say, the accountability they want is when they perceive somebody who is an enemy or who they call an enemy. then they want to push the person all over the place and drag the person and say, oh, let us jail him because he had done A, B, or C. And that is their own conception of accountability. But of course, accountability means that at all times and all levels. And you know, there's this funny thing that happens with this government. Anytime you bring facts and challenge them, and you're waiting, and they tell you, oh, the president is taking his time for something that's open and glaring. And of course, after a little while, they push it aside. The former SGF, is he not walking around and then doing has anybody charged him for anything? They merely said they were charging him to court, and that was the end of it. Till today, he walks around freely and actually goes to the villa every day. Yet, he was found culpable with his hand in the cookie jar. And you tell me that you're doing accountability. How would I believe you? Why is accountability only for the opposition figures and not for anybody? And former chairman, Ochomole, I think in a slip of the tongue, at one time said, well, come into APC and your sins will be forgiven. And when we heard it, we all knew he was actually saying the truth. So accountability is not for those in power.
The president also spoke about the rule of law. And many Nigerians have insisted that for any democracy to survive, the rule of law is non-negotiable. So the president has also admitted. But I want to ask, in a situation where court orders
are serially disobeyed,
just cherry picking, I want to bear this, I don't want to bear the other. Does that enhance what the president wants the nation to achieve?
It doesn't in any way. It doesn't in any way. In fact, it makes mockery of, whatever they say. And, for people who have a good turn of the phrase, they say, what the president and his government are saying is, do as I say, not as I do.
Well, the president also says one method of helping Nigeria out of its present challenges is by harnessing and optimizing our tremendous human and natural resources to attain our goal.
I agree with him on that. And I hasten to add that if not for the tremendous potential and job that is done by our ordinary citizens, there will be no Nigeria. If it is based on what they are doing as the elite ruling this country today, there will have been no Nigeria. It is the ordinary Nigerian that is carrying everybody on his back, suffering, taking all the pain. And it is the diaspora Nigerians everywhere that are raising the profile of Nigeria, doing everything everywhere in the world. There is hardly any field of human endeavor that you go and say, okay, let us get in the whole world 20 people. You will see a Nigerian there. Hardly any. And so it is the tremendous work being done by all these our people who are not hampered by the question of what we are hampered with locally here. We are hampered with the fact here that there is no merit in anything. And since we have removed meritocracy out of our public life, all that has happened is that they have exported it, and Nigerians are doing so well everywhere.
There is something we want to end this conversation on. The president says strengthening institutions to make them stronger in protecting national interest.
I agree with him on that. It has always been what we have every patriot has desired, remove the culture of the person and put in an institutional ethos so that it can outlast one generation to the other. Because I can be a very good person, I can do something very well here, and as I'm running this place, of course I can run it well, but if the institution depends only on me, revolves around me, any day I'm taken out of there, the institution will collapse. So building institutions, I agree, that is the right way to go.
Distinguished Senator, do you have hope in the ultimate survival of this country as Africa's foremost nation?
Yes. Once you have a few good men committed to Nigeria, you will see that all these things will be a thing of the past. Because a president committed to Nigeria, a few good men around the president committed to this country as a whole will embrace everybody. And once you do that, then you leave Nigerians to their own devices, and Nigerians will make Nigeria great.
Distinguished Senator, thank you very much for coming to the show.
It's my pleasure.
My name remains Mwaboze and Jockey never changes. This conversation continues next Sunday. Wish you happy 60th Independence Anniversary. Good afternoon.